And here we are. So, thanks a lot for coming to episode 20 today for Coffee with Impetus. I know we're a bit late. Um, Nobody's fault here, but sometimes work keeps us a little bit longer, and that's why we can't make it on the time we always want it to be. But today we do have our special guest Danny G over here. So why don't you take the mic, Danny G, and tell us about who you are and what you do?
All right. My name is Danny Gronendijk. I am the owner of a one-man shop called Gronendijk Plumbing in Northwest Indiana. Primarily do service plumbing, some small remodels. I work with maybe two remodeling contractors, and but mostly service work. So that's pretty much it. I don't do new construction. I stay away from that.
It's not your cup of tea over there.
Mm-mm. No, sir.
No, sorry, not mine either.
Right.
Um, so how long have you been plumbing for, Danny? I actually never even asked you that question in real
Well,
life.
a lot of people will think that I've been because I'm old and I got gray in my goatee, I'm losing my hair. They think I've been plumbing forever. I've only been plumbing for 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a firefighter in the Air Force out of high school for 5 years, and then I went into work in the steel mill where my father worked for 12 years. The last 4 years of that, I was actually doing double duty. I was working full time in the steel mill, and I opened up a video game rental and retail store.
Ooh.
And very few people know about this. I know Alec, the biggest plumber, he knows about it. He's actually pretty fascinated by it. But we were open. I was open for 4 years and never was closed one day during that whole time I was open.
Wow.
We were open every day for 4 years, and it was buy, sell, and trade video games, sell new video games, sell the consoles, the whole works. And we rented them. We rented them on a daily basis. So we had a drive through. It was a cool place. It was called Games by the Day because at the time it was in 1999. It was the beginning of 2000. It was one of the only places you could just rent a game for a day, whereas the other big rental places were like 5 days.
Like
And
Blockbuster back in the day,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Blockbuster, box office, things like that. And so people dug the idea of, hey, I can go up and rent it for, it was like $2 to rent it. And then the longer you kept it, it was just $1 a day extra. So you can keep it till you beat it, or you can bring it back the next day if it wasn't no good and
That's
you're only
pretty
on
sweet.
$2.
How,
Yeah,
how
it was
many times? How many times did you have people not returning it at all?
Oh man, that happened. That happened so many times. So or return it damaged. There was a lot of headaches in that business. So they return it damaged, broken. Oh, I didn't break that in half like that. It was like that when I got it. Yeah, okay. So yeah, there was that was a tough part of the business right there. So
I feel you. But then from going to that video games, how did you get started on the plumbing side then?
well, my goal was to get out of that mill that I was in. I didn't want to be there all my life. I was there 12, almost 12 years. And so this starting the video game store was kind of my way of trying to build a business that would grow and then I'd be able to leave the mill. So I actually had an opportunity to get into plumbing. Things were going okay with the business, not great, and there's not a lot of margin on the video games, believe it or not. And so it was a decision I had to make. Someone was going to try to get me into the hall, which eventually he did, but he was going to get me in, um, and I didn't even go to my interview. So I like applied and all that, and then it was like, you know what? I have a crossroad that if I go to this interview and I get into the plumbing, I give up on my business dream and forget it. And I was like, I'm not quite ready yet. So I didn't even go to the interview. I called them and said, hey, I'm not going to be going to that interview. So I opened up a second store, a second location. And that location, I was only open for 3 months. That location bombed. It was a bad location.
Wow.
And I didn't have deep enough pockets to sustain such a slow start at that one. The first store, when I opened it, it took off and it was just going gangbusters. It was a better location. So needless to say, I shut that location down after 3 or 4 months. Kept at the first location as long as I could, about another year, and I was just like underwater, just trying to survive. It was bad, and so then I went ahead and reached out to him and said, hey, if I could still get into plumbing, I think I'm going to give it a shot. So he said, yeah. So he got me into the hall, And then I just gave up. I just closed the plumber or closed the video game store down.
Wow. And then you just started your, whole apprenticeship and then just worked your way up into starting your own business, I assume.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So the 5 year apprenticeship, and it was along about 2007, no, 11, 2011, that things were slow. The economy was bad. Commercials wasn't building. And, in the union, most of it around here, union work is commercial construction. And so things were down. I was laid off for like a year. And so, like, of course, you're laid off, we're doing side work, I mean, you got tools and you got abilities, you're going to do it. So
I feel
finally,
you.
you know what? I got tools. I got a van. I've got my contractor's license. Why not just go ahead and go into business for myself? So that's what I did, and I have not regretted that decision.
Neither have I till this day. But it's funny that you talked about video games. I didn't know that you were so avid into that because growing up, my dad actually did video games as well.
Really?
Yeah, we owned a more than a few arcades at a time, and then we were doing a lot of arcade machines, photo stickers, all that kind of stuff. Because a lot of people always ask me, "Oh, you second generation or or third generation?" I'm like, "No, there's no generation. We've never been plumbers. My dad's
Right,
only
right,
been
right.
doing video games." So over the course of that time, probably when you started too, like I've seen it slowly diminish and slowly get thinner and thinner with how much money you can actually make for arcades, because at one time we had to switch from arcade to photo stickers instead because people wanted to take photos instead, because we had all
Hmm,
those fancy Japanese machines where you can do photos and you can edit them. Everything you can do on your phone today, back then you couldn't. So that
right.
was the bigger spin when people couldn't play video games or didn't want to play video games anymore. And then afterwards that died. And, now video games are more like a vintage kind of thing, right? It's only like bars and stuff where you have a few, yeah, even maybe at 20 machines, but people don't explicitly say, hey, let's go out and play some video games.
Right. Yeah. Arcades are definitely a dying thing, I think.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, but yeah, it's something that was really similar for the both of us. But when you did, so when was the right time for you? Other than all the video games and stuff, when you did all your apprenticeship and you worked up to it, when was the time that you really thought that you decided to do your own business? Was it like from day one that you were going into the trades, you already thought that you were gonna do something but on your own again?
it was probably in the back of my mind. And whenever we're in our fourth year, that's when we go down and take our state test, plumbing license test. And I had in my mind, you know what? I'm going to take my test for journeyman. And then as soon as I pass that, I'm going to go ahead right away and take my contractor's license test, because there wasn't like a waiting period or nothing. That way, because I felt like, hey, I know all this stuff, code stuff now, and it'd be easier for me to get my contractor's license now. And someday, if I ever needed to or wanted to, I could go into business. So it was like in the back of my mind that, yeah, probably someday, but I didn't know that for sure at the beginning. So,
I feel you. I feel you. I don't think it's ever the mind of everybody to start their own business, but it's always fun. I mean, for you at least, since you've done your business before, you know that
right.
even though it's two separate kind of things, at least the proper steps to again start from. You don't start from zero again, but you start from, let's say, 20-30% of what you already know to start your plumbing business.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
So one of my questions was supposed to be, how was the changes from learning from being somebody that was working. Um, well, actually, the same question that I can ask is, what difference did you find when you did like owning a video game business versus owning a trades business like a service plumbing?
Oh, well, it's probably easier to at least view some of the similarities. One of the similarities is dealing with people, because that was one of the things I noticed, that when I was behind the counter, I had some employees too, but I spent a lot of time behind the counter running out games, selling games. People would always like it that when they came in, they were dealing with the owner, and I'm sure that you get
Yeah.
that in your business. So that was always a special thing. It's like, wow, I came in here, and and here I am talking to the owner, and he's helping me out. He's nice to me. So there's that customer relation that you're helping people and stuff. I still get that in plumbing. People like dealing with the owner. So hang on a second. What's that for? Okay. So I don't know. I guess one thing I like about the service over the retail is that I don't have to worry about really products. You know what I mean? Like I
Yep.
don't have like anything I stock is materials, but not really products. So I know everyone does their stuff a little bit differently. The way I do things is basically customers will buy their own faucet, their own toilet, their own shower valve, stuff like that, and then I put it in and I supply all the other materials that they have no idea what to get. So I don't like to have to deal with product and stocking it,
Yeah.
so inventory and whatnot. So
It's a lot easier on the service side where you need one thing one day and then you just have to go to the supply house to get that stuff
right,
versus having it there all the
right,
time. I assume that's why I think
right.
for us new construction isn't the best thing either, because you have to have so much stuff stocked and ready for each job. On and on, you have to have like three, four, five, six houses going on at a time to even have a profitable business.
Ugh, no thanks. I
Yeah,
want
no
nothing
thanks.
to do with that.
I just stepped into that little realm for like maybe like 8 months, and I was just like, yeah, this is not for me. It's good to learn, but it's
Right,
definitely not something that you wanna have the rest of your business for throughout your life. Some people like to do it, some people don't, but that's not my kind of thing either.
sure, sure, sure.
So when you started your own business, how long has it been now? Because then you said you've been plumbing for 16 years.
That was in 12, so it's been a little over 8 years, about eight, almost 8.5 years that I've been in business for myself.
Wow. And have you always been by yourself throughout these whole 8 years, or have you hired and anything in
No,
between?
I have. I had a helper for like the last year, from June to June. That was the young Danny G. I don't know if you ever seen any videos where I had this skinny kid. He was
Oh
18.
yeah,
He
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember
went to
seeing
high
it.
school. He went to high school with my daughter, and so I was just trying to help him out, trying to get him in the trade, and show him some stuff. And eventually, after about a year, he just said it wasn't for him, and he gave me a week's notice, and he couldn't do it no more. He said. So I said, okay.
Wow.
I didn't really invest much in him. I mean, he did good work for me while he was there, but he was really a helper. But otherwise, I've been by myself the whole time.
I feel you. It's hard to say though, honestly, when you're about 18, 19, even though you have something that people are willing to help you for and whatnot, it's just that you really don't know where your path really lies and what you really want to do.
Yeah.
It's if every 18-year-old knew, then they'd be millionaires. Let's to be real.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And some do, and I think those are the special ones, right? That do
Right.
become something bigger,
Yeah.
and better. But going back to your Instagram about watching your apprentices and watching you grow as an accountant and everything. I mean, seeing that you are a really avid tool lover, um,
Yeah.
what would you say are some brands or some really good brands that you like to stand behind or are one of your favorites?
Well, I actually like Milwaukee. Okay. I have a ton of Milwaukee stuff. Like if you've ever seen, I've got a picture of I brought all my tools out and took a drone picture of them.
Oh yeah, we have that one.
Yeah, and so that's a lot, and I got a lot more since then. But like today, I used that Milwaukee concrete saw to cut up down there in the concrete. Um, so rigid's another of my favorite. A little bit different, a little bit different tools. I mean, rigid is mostly drain cleaning for me. Like all drain cleaning, I'm using rigid now, and then I got some other stuff as well that I do, but mostly drain cleaning. That's pretty much the two really big ones. Then just some miscellaneous stuff, but mostly it's rigid and Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah. I think for me it's the same over here. It's always been those two brands that I've trusted so far to have all the other stuff. I mean, DeWalt, Makita are pretty avid too, and they're pretty good brands. But the thing about when you're working in trades or working any kind of business is just that when you have a certain platform, you want everything to stay in that platform.
Yeah.
Unless something drastically changes, then you really want that extra tool. I mean, I have like a Makita plugin for a what do you call it, jackhammer, because it was a better jackhammer than Milwaukee's. So you know
Sure.
those are the certain differences that sometimes you have different kind of tools.
Right. Yep. So no, I've got like probably, without exaggeration, probably 60 M18 batteries, and
Wow.
it's silly for me to buy another platform, another tool on another platform if I've got that much power, uh,
Yeah,
with the Milwaukee 18 volts. So
that is crazy. I can't believe you have 60 batteries. I mean, I thought I had a lot already, and I was getting tired of them.
right. I've only got four of the 12.0s. I wish I had a few more of those, but someday.
I feel you. So, seeing a lot of posts on social media again, I always like to bring all that back. It's just that you've been doing a lot of rapping, right? Um, so, you know, what's the deal of rapping, and how did you get into it, and what's so special about it? Of why a lot of other companies getting you to rap, or is it something that you like to do daily, or have you been doing it before? Because I know I've talked to you before about why you got into rapping, but share with everybody else,
Yeah.
how you got into it.
All right. So rapping for me started in like 1984. I was a freshman in high school, and I heard Run DMC. And from the time that I started hearing Run DMC, I was hooked, right? And LL Cool J, all them, and so that all that old school rap, I took to it right away. I love the rhyming stuff. I really don't like rap as much. When you can't understand the words, it doesn't do a whole lot for me. So really, for
Yeah.
me, it's being able to hear and repeat the. Oh, hang on a second. I should have put my phone on.
Ooh,
Sorry.
that's all good.
Did I disappear?
No, you're
Okay,
good. You're
so
good.
here. All right, let me put my phone on. I apologize. I'm going to put it on airplane mode there. So, yeah, so I love to write raps. I've got raps that I've written back in high school that I still remember. I can't remember my new lyrics as much. It's kind of weird. It's like I can write it. It's always got to be on my iPad or something, because it's just like the older I get, the less my short-term memory will keep up with it. So, but it's still fun to me. So lately, though, this year, I mean, 2020 is a weird year, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you don't have to look around very far to find it's just a crazy year. And so in 2020, it was a Canadian company reached out to me, Rob from RMC Plumbing, and right there in Vancouver. And he reached out and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a radio commercial for us, a rap?" I, okay, I never really gave it much thought before. Yeah, I'll do it. So I did it. He loved it, knocked it out of the park. It was a big hit. He got tons of calls about it. He got jobs. He landed jobs just solely because of it. And so that was a cool thing. Well, then other companies started calling saying, "Hey, I would like one for mine." I know Hot Shots Drains, they wanted one in Michigan. And so that's on the radio there right now. And then I've got another one for Paramount Plumbing in Florida that's just about finished. My end of it's finished. They got to get me a couple pictures I want to put on the thing before it gets released. And then right now I've got a North Carolina plumbing company that's giving me a deposit for it, and also a company in Bermuda.
Wow.
Yeah, so that one's going to be a radio commercial. The North Carolina one is an Instagram or a social media thing. The one in Bermuda is going to be a radio commercial. So
That's pretty sweet. I mean, like, you turn something of an old passion into something that can actually, you know, make some money, actually.
yeah, yeah,
And I think it was
exactly.
pretty cool because when you're talking about Rob, I heard his radio, and for us, we don't listen to radio a lot, but I honestly think that radio is an undervalued attention right now because it's a lot cheaper again, and the
Right.
fact that people still listen to it, that as long as we have anything from Rob that he has been getting calls, it's good news for everybody else who actually watches this later or watches it now that, you know, radio is still a good way to advertise nowadays.
Yeah, yeah. So he'll every now and then he'll send me like a screenshot of an email or something, or he gets his last one he sent me was this guy says, "Hey, I don't need a plumber right now, but when I do, you've got my business based on your commercial. It's great, and I don't even like commercials." That's what the guy said. So I was like,
Wow.
"Well, that's kind of cool, yeah."
It's an everlasting impression. I mean, I've heard it a lot of times. I think it was running for at least 2 to 3 months. So it
Right.
definitely, yeah. So definitely, it was a good one. It was a good one. Too bad I don't have it here today. I should have asked you to so that we could all play it together on online and give Rob some clout there.
And I also have right now. I'm also working on a big project, a much bigger project, and I really can't talk about it because they made me sign a non-disclosure agreement to it. But it's a major manufacturer, a valves and fittings, and it's going to be a big commercial. I actually have the wrap done. They loved it all the way up to the CEO loved it. And I mean, it's a worldwide. You know the brand. You've probably used their products. So I just can't talk about it. So, but it will be coming out. Probably going to be starting to shoot the video. I've got to go to their headquarters to shoot the video, and that's going to be in about 3 or 4 weeks.
That's sweet.
Before the video.
I mean, there's only so many you work with, so I have an idea already.
Yeah, yeah. So that's exciting, and that's like the next step, and so
Yeah,
I can't wait for that to come out.
that is. Congratulations on that. It's really
Thank you.
it's really awesome to be able to do something like that, especially with big manufacturers, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, and they're really good to work with too, and so I've been enjoying working with their marketing team to get this project off the ground.
That's sweet. Well, let's go on to the picture side because there's always a portion of this show that we talk about some pictures that I do want to show the audience.
Okay.
So we're gonna go through the first picture over here. I sent it to you on Instagram. I'm not sure if you can see it if you're on, unless you're on Twitch or YouTube, but you have this picture of you holding up a 2x4 that says Sewage Olympics 30 gold medals, and you're holding up. I think you're holding up 30 deuces. I don't know what you're holding up, but
Yeah, those are tampons. So
okay.
yeah, those are tampons. Probably not one of my shining moments, but you know what? I like to have a good time. I like to have humor, and not everybody saw that as funny. A lot of people did. Some
I thought it
people did.
was hilarious.
I thought it was funny myself. I was really trying to go for it, and all those were on the rod the very first time it came back. All right, so I was using a K1500, and I pulled all those off in one shot. And so I was like, oh, this is like Michael Phelps, right, with all the 19 gold medals. And so it was just sometimes my brain doesn't have a filter, and I just grabbed the 2x4, grabbed my Milwaukee staple gun, and went like that,
Was
and
that was
there.
that was that all in one job, or was it collections of each job and then you just made a medal
No,
bar from it?
no, they were all on the cable when I brought it back. So all those were on the cable at one
Wow,
time. Yeah, I was cutting them off. They were just all over that cable. And so no, that was from one shot in the sewer right there.
that is crazy. I have not seen that many tampons in one sewer before. That
All
must have been a
right.
good job at the same time.
Yeah, it was a good job. So and that picture actually got me in a lot of trouble on one of the bigger Facebook group sites. They banned it, and
That's
yeah, they
Facebook.
were.
Facebook's always like that, you know. Facebook is
Yeah,
about a lot of people with opinions, and you know that can't take jokes and take things too
yeah,
seriously.
yeah. So unfortunately, it offended. It was offensive. So
Wow, that's okay. We don't worry about those, but we'll go on to the next one where we were talking about earlier is you and your van, and holy crap, your drone picture of a million Milwaukee products.
yeah, that's actually my second Milwaukee picture. The first one I did probably a year and a half earlier.
Yeah,
I had a lot of the same stuff, but then by the time that picture came around, I had so much more. And so I just brought it all out, and it took me about 3.5 hours to bring it out, take the pictures, and put it all back.
People don't
So,
see that, you know. Sometimes people just think, "Oh, wow, it's
no,
just a really nice picture," but you know, being on the social media side all the time and really just lining up even stuff for the giveaways, you're just like, holy shit, you waste a
yeah,
lot of freaking time
a lot of
to
time.
literally plan everything out and just say, hey, I want this here, I want that here, and then you still look at the camera and you're like, oh fuck, this angle is not good.
Yeah,
Now we gotta get this other angle on this side. Okay, we don't have enough light. We need to have more light. Holy crap,
yeah.
the sun's coming
Oh,
down.
yeah. You're all the time moving lights around here and there, and trying to rig them up to where they'll be in the right spot. So yeah, I had a buddy come out and he ran the drone and he took pictures for me with the drone that day.
That is sick though. Yeah, that's a. How much do you think that collection is actually?
I think that it's probably around 40,000, somewhere around $40,000, I would say roughly.
Wow,
A
you're
little
heavily
bit.
invested in that one. But you know what's the funniest thing though when people when you say that's 40,000, like you compare almost like 2 to 3 cameras from Rigid to that, and that's already the cost. That's how
Right.
ridiculous it is. I'm not saying
Yeah.
Rigid is ridiculously expensive, but I'm just
No.
saying
No.
like
Yeah.
that's the stuff that you have to really buy quality wise, and the
Right.
dollar amount can equal to as much as you have there with just 3 things.
Right. I think I see. I have a rigid picture as well, and it's not as impressive because it's not as many things. It was the one that I used for the Tool Pro podcast, Tool Pro of the month. I used that they needed a picture, so I took a rigid group picture. And you're right. I think that my rigid collection is valued at the same because it's all just the more costly equipment.
Yeah.
So,
It's crazy. There's so much technology in that one piece of equipment. Like that's how I always sell a camera. Sometimes it's just by telling people like, "Holy crap, you think plumbing is expensive, but this shit ain't no joke." Because
yep.
I bring in I bring in the machinery and I'm like, well, look at this piece of equipment right here. You think that you should get a camera inspection for free, but this is $14,000. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you want a freaking Toyota in your sink in your drain, right? And then you want it to be free. Like, let's be
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then I've even had them say, "Well, but you already have it." Well, yeah, I already have it, but I got to maintain it too. It's only going to go through so many sewers before it's going to have to get fixed or replaced. So,
Yeah, you
everybody's
know what
got
go through sewers? You know all the Drano you pour down, all these other stuff you pour down.
yeah,
Somebody has to upkeep the machine. Somebody has to clean it, especially now, like, with COVID and everything. We have to clean our machines. So we'll just be touching all the crap every day.
yep, 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 yep. So,
It definitely, but talking about tools, that is definitely interesting to see what you have and how you've grown differently into different brands as long as you're working. Because before you're a Milwaukee guy, then you move towards a lot more rigid as well. Because you know, just along the way, we found that different tools are meant better for us. In that sense, I think I was the same as you because when I first started, I bought everything Milwaukee, honestly,
right,
other than my
yeah,
wrenches because I only knew rigid for wrenches. But then as I start moving forward into the press, the sewage, the cameras, and all the other stuff, it came back down to rigid.
sure, yep.
But yeah, those are a lot of the questions that I have for today. But I do actually have one more that I'm actually curious about. Of how has business been for you for COVID? I know everybody asked that question, but I'm always genuinely curious about what it does to the one man shows, what it does to the companies, or how it relates within the areas you work in. How has that affected you so far?
You know what? It really hasn't. The day that they closed our restaurants down, I took that helper, Danny G. We went to Red Lobster for the last meal,
Ooh,
and so yeah, so we had lunch there, all you can eat shrimp and stuff, and then we went home. The next 2 days, my phone didn't ring, and I didn't have work, and it kind of freaked me out. Like, holy smokes, this world is shutting down. Then after that, the phone started ringing again, and it hasn't stopped ever since. So it went right back to people's stuff stopped working. They got to call a plumber. It's
yeah.
all to it.
That's true. I mean, I asked everybody that because I think everybody did have a slow time. But, if you were good and everybody did call you, at the end of the day, we're still essentials, right? I'm not saying, it's not us saying that we're special whatsoever. But the problem is if you don't have water, you're actually going to die. If you
Yeah.
don't have a hot shower, it's actually pretty devastating, for some people.
Yep.
So if you don't have heat, that's also a really big thing, right? You're gonna
Yeah.
freeze. You're gonna freeze in the winter. So it's
Right.
been interesting to see how how lucky we are at the same time that we're in the trades that is actually almost recession proof. I'd say
That's
that's especially
exactly
when we
right.
go servicing.
Right. And see, I think that there's one of the differences between doing new homes or doing service work. I don't think new homes is as recession proof as it is as in service. Because yeah, in service, when people stuff stops working, they got to get it fixed. You know.
But the thing is, there always needs to be somebody doing new construction. But the best part I always like to see is, I like to see the waves of the new construction guys, the things that they
Right.
go through. And every time they don't have enough work, they just think that, hey, I'm just gonna wake up one day, I'm just gonna pull a service division out of my ass. That's my favorite thing to see. And I see so many of that in Vancouver, and it's hilarious. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, but only time will tell. Either they get better or they just get eaten up. But that's the
Yeah.
one they chose.
Right. Yep. Yep. So no, I like to do service, and I like everything is a little different every day, different places to go. And if I'm at a job more than a day at one job, I'm not liking that. I want to go here, I want to go there, mix it up.
And you want to
Um,
meet people. You know what I mean? I mean, like, the
yeah.
feeling I always talk about for new construction is, or even like commercial construction, is just that you do a lot of stuff that nobody really does know at the end of the day sometimes. And you don't get to have a relationship with each of your clients versus doing service. You're going to every household, you start relationships with
Yep.
uh, Mrs. Smith or Mrs. Doe or whatever, and
Right.
you get all these relationships and you build upon them and you actually learn to know your clients versus, hey, I'm just gonna learn to know the builder and that's it, and everybody else who's a sub trade. Because then after
Yeah.
you build this huge ass building, nobody really knows who you are.
Nope. Nope. You're the only one who knows what all is in that building.
Yep.
So no, I love service work.
I do as well. But we're nearing the closing of our show, so the last thing that I do want to say is, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it as always, and I love to have you on the show. I would have loved to have you earlier, but a lot of people were coming in, but I'm so glad that you're here today. But I do want you to see whatever you want to say or talk about what's coming up next. I think you were talking about you working at a manufacturer, but other than that, are there any other things that you kind of want to let the world know what Danny G's up to and what he's cooking up?
No, I have a let's see here. Well, we're getting close to 3,000 followers on Instagram, so I think about another 175 more followers. So I think I'm gonna put together a 3K giveaway.
Sweet.
So that's something that I'm about to do. Let's see what else. That's pretty much it. I think in the long term, I'm actually planning on moving to North Carolina, to like the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And so right now we're starting to look at places there. We're saying 3 years, but maybe if we find something that we really like enough, we might pull the trigger sooner. And I'll do the same thing. I'll go out there and I'll just start my own one man shop out there. I'll just take it with me. So it'll be slow at the beginning, and then it'll pick up. You know.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll turn out fine. I'm sure you saved enough on this side to be able to even consider moving, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it'll be fun change and seeing
Yeah.
how slightly different plumbing would be in a certain different area. It's always great.
Sure.
Have you
And
have you have you seen any other plumbers down by Charlotte?
yes, yes, I know a couple of them through the internet. And this last time I went ahead and went and met one of them. And he's a really cool guy. And he actually, we've been talking for a couple years now online. And he told me, he says, you know what, when you come down here, he says, I'll throw some business your way. He said, you'll have some service calls coming your way. So I said, well, that's cool. Overflow stuff. When they don't have
Yeah.
time for something. So that'll be good. That'll be helpful to get off the ground, and I think that it'll be. I'm excited about it. I'm actually. It's not that I'm bored here, but I'm looking forward to better weather, and their weather is right on the money for me. And so
Yeah, weather is always a big thing, 100%.
I won't need a heated driveway down there. That's for sure.
Oh
So
yeah, that is a very warm place. So,
yeah.
last thing of the day, Danny, what are you gonna tell people who want to start their own business? What tips do you have, or in
Plumbing.
trades general?
Okay, in trades in general, I would say the best tip is to go at it 100%. If you go at anything 100% and shoot for the moon and you fall short, you've still done well. If you go at it haphazardly and just so, then you don't give it your all and you fall short. You may fall too short. So I guess that was the everything. When I got into plumbing, I didn't know if I would like it or not and how good I'd be at it or not, but I just went ahead and tried my absolute best in school. And that's the best thing, is just to give it your all, learn as much as you can, absorb as much information as people will give you, and you'll be good. You'll be good with that.
100%. Words from the wise. Danny G has been having a lot of experience, and he's a wise man. Thank you so much, Danny.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you coming out today. I'll see you again soon, and probably next time we'll do a live on Instagram.
All right, that sounds great. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a good night. Talk
All
to
right,
you soon.
you too. All right.
Bye-bye. All right, so that was Coffee with Impetus, episode 20 with Danny G. I think his internet was a little bit kind of flaky with his video, but it's okay. I think the sound always came through. So, if you guys are more interested in the podcast version of it, you can just listen to the sound. I don't have a podcast yet, but we're probably on our way to make that when things get a little less busier, because I've been dealing with a lot of home crap, building the home, all the other crap with the permits and all that shit. So anyway, thank you for watching episode 20. Again, if you guys don't know, Danny's account thing is right there. You can follow him on Instagram. You can find him on Instagram. I'm sure you already know of him, and if you want, drop him a DM. So thank you guys for being here once again, and I'll see you guys on the next show of episode 21.